Hello, it's Darren at Moonhare Studio, and today we're celebrating the release of a new Spitfire Albion for 2020 by showing you what you can do with the old ones. So you always know that something dramatic's going to happen when Christian Henson dons a parka and heads off up a mountain or a fjord. So I'm quite looking forward to whatever this new Albion will be when it comes out. But coincidentally, over the New Year period, I'd written a cue for an H.P. Lovecraft podcast, so the main theme, using almost entirely Albions. Albion, the original Albion, Iceni and Tundra. And so I thought it might be good to share that with you and kind of celebrate the old before the new comes in. So we'll have a little look at the cue and in the best traditions of all of these sorts of things. Let's colour that in so we can see what we're doing. We'll play through the cue first, and then I'll explain roughly what was going on as we go through and show you how I've used these various libraries. So there you have it, and that's the cue. It wants to start again because I've got it on loop. Yeah, so let's have a little dive in and see what we've actually got here. So it starts off with this atmospheric bit, and one of the lovely samples that I've used here is this eerie effect, and that's actually from Albion, the original Albion, and it's called Whitechapel from Above, and it comes from the set of instruments that's in the Stevenson Steam Band, and there's a lot of really good stuff in here, and the names are just fantastic. I love this Ghost Shipyard and I don't know, Steam Screamers. Yeah, there's an awful lot of stuff in here. I've used a number of these pads and drones before, so that's quite nice, because that's just got a sort of, isn't that a wonderful sound, you know, all done with the actual instruments of the orchestra as well, and mangled by probably Christian, I guess, at that time. We've also got an instance of Tundra up here, and that's doing these sort of just a very simple harmony on the harmonic trems, the gypsy harmonic trems, very icy sort of sound. God, you can really hear them scraping across the strings there. Fantastic. So that's a nice sound. One instance of sable, I still call it sable. You know, it's Spitfire chamber strings, isn't it? But that's the only other string sound that's in this whole piece, really. So I just quickly used along there. I'm not exactly sure why I did that. Probably that was when I was sketching it out originally, and I just didn't need to take it out. But once we get past that, we get into the sort of meat of the piece. We've got the two really awesome strings from Iceni coming in. Let's just roll onto those so that you can hear what's going on there. So these are the cellos and the low strings, and they really pack a punch. I mean, isn't that awesome? I think there's something like 24 cellos playing there. If we let's zoom this a bit, you can see that I'm kind of chopping backwards and forwards And that looks really odd because that looks like these are incredibly low notes in comparison to the others, but actually what they've done here is they've been very clever actually, and I really love this feature. Let's select that. You've got two sets of samples that are at the same pitch, A and B, so you can play one with one hand and one with the other, which is just great because you can do stuff that's a real pace, but also they're panned differently in the hall, so you get a feeling of movement. It's just brilliant. I really love that. So the sound's great, but also the way it's been implemented is superb. One thing I will point out while I'm here is that you will notice with all of my samples as I go through that the yellow notice is on there, so I've actually purged all the samples I don't need. So Spitfire libraries, if you've got the whole lot loaded in and you're using more than one microphone, do get up to quite a bit of memory. And so like we've got 404 megabytes of RAM here if we want all of this loaded in. In fact, if I reload the samples, it'll be slightly more because I purged those. Now I'm only using very few notes in comparison to the whole keyboard and all of the other things. So always worth purging at the end. Just update your sample pool and it brings it down to 14 megabytes, which is great. That's a good saving across the board when you think of all these instruments thundering away. So yes, the cellos and a low string patch as well, which has cellos in it, but it also has basses, and they're both thumping away there. This one's doing a slightly simpler line. It's doing the sort of chopping. And together, oh, that's a blistering sound. Also, we've got the percussion coming in, gongs and tams from Albion, and we've got percussion from Iceni, which is a lower percussion. So let's just have a listen to what those are doing. So you get that tam sound and a crash on the cymbal, and then these are playing. There's a roll on that upper note, and then just the beat, which really is kind of like an execution drum. And if we take a look at the woodwinds, what they're doing, we've got a high woodwind from Albion. I do really love this sound. It's these Albions have been, they've been curated really. They've created a sound of the orchestra that they felt would be really useful for people to use. So I do enjoy using these sounds, and that one is particularly enigmatic. So when you have a listen to that, that's coming in. If we put in, say, some of the percussion, and then that really crunchy sound, which in context actually does sound a bit like brass coming in. If I just unsolo everything. But of course it's not. It's low woodwinds, and that's just a lovely sound again from Iceni. If we take a look at that, that's Iceni longs. Again, just lovely sounds. So that just gives it a kind of pickup at that stage before the real show stoppers come in, and that's the brass. And I mean the thunderous brass from Iceni plus the mid brass from Albion. So let's have a listen to what's going on with the brass there. So we'll just solo those up so we can have a listen. Which is great. That's the long brass there. There's an even crunchier one. I mean, this is amazing in itself, but if you ever listen to the Long and Nasty, and I actually will have to reload the samples for us to have that. There we go. I mean, oh my god. Sorry if I blew your head off there, but anyway, I didn't think I needed to go quite into stellar overdrive for that one. This is good enough. If we actually have a look at the automation, you can see that I am riding it quite a bit. It really makes a big difference to these sounds to ride the automation, allow the dynamics to come through. You can see it on this mid brass as well. Actually, if we have a look at the instrument there, if you have a look at the dynamic as we go through, you'll see it. I mean, not being shy with this, no. At this stage, the high brass again from Albion comes in, and that's again a long brass sound. That packs a punch when you get up there, but I mean the dynamic range of these is amazing. So you can really ride those dynamics and the mod wheel. I thoroughly enjoy doing that. So everything's trundling along very nicely at that point, and then we come to the final section. We've got again our tams and a sort of a cymbal crash, but also this low Easter Island, because I just love that sound. I've used that in so many different things. I really must stop. It's like an addiction. But everything comes to a sort of crashing. So you can hear the cymbal dying away there, the Easter Island hit. And also this little run, which is just from Albion. There's a few different, you can use those effectively. The good thing about those is that although you're just hitting one note and getting the run, you could actually play it in if you wanted, or program it if you're that way inclined. It's been recorded properly, you know, it's actually been recorded with musicians doing the run, so it sounds really authentic. There are definitely times when it's worth using these little things, these little tricks, because once it's in a mix, it just adds that little extra. So definitely worth having a look at those sorts of little hits and runs and things. And then we end on just the final bits, which is the harp and the Celeste, which are just doing a little sort of section. I've also slowed the tempo down at this point, so we're actually dropping away there just to finish the piece off. But the Celeste and the harp continue, and also the woods just doing that little line in the background there. So I hope that was interesting. I mean, let's celebrate these old libraries. The Albions were great in their time, and I consider them still to be really brilliant sample sets. They're sounds that I've loved playing over the years. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of Spitfire in 2020 with the new Albion. But for now, I'll just play you out with this track, and I hope you've enjoyed that little whiz round my Call of Cthulhu H.P. Lovecrafty world for the last couple of weeks. So see you on the next one.